Hey, everybody. This is your girl, Dr. J, and welcome to another episode of Life Class. Tonight, I have a very special guest, author Miss Felicia Brookins. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Let me tell you how fabulous that introduction is. I almost thought Beyonce was out in the community listening to my voice, but I was like, no, that's Dr. J.
Well,
I love it.
Well, back in the day when I was doing my thing.
Hey, you still doing your thing.
So let me pull the wig out the closet, baby. You know, it brings all the boys to the yard, so I had to keep her.
I know it.
Keep her locked up.
I bet.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
I am excited. Conversation tonight.
Yes.
So we are talking about intergenerational curse. It stops with me, baby.
Stops with me.
So I want you to start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and why you chose this topic.
Okay. Well, as you said, my name is Felicia Brookins, and I am an award-winning Christian fiction author and screenwriter. And I chose this topic because, as I say in my bio, this is a way for me to help set the captive free, even if that captive is me. Okay. And so I use theater, I use writing to help me be free from what I consider to be intergenerational trauma and the things that have occurred in my life. The person you see here today was not always this whole. And so I decided to talk about this topic and bring it to as many platforms as possible because I know beyond shadow of a doubt that I'm not the only one that has dealt with trauma or intergenerational trauma. And there may even be some people out there who don't realize that that's what is going on with them. And so that's why I chose this topic because I want to set myself free and other people as well.
Baby, set the captives free, baby.
Captives free. Amen.
Tell the people what is intergenerational trauma.
Intergenerational trauma. The best way that I would say this and make it as easy as possible for you to recognize or to maybe step by so that you can identify is there are some things that have occurred in your family tree, in your family legacy. They have been some things that have been detrimental, some things that have been traumatizing to other people. And you come along and those same people that are traumatized and hurt, they hurt you. They traumatize you. And it becomes so common to you that I always say that you wear trauma like a coat. You put it on and get comfortable with it, and you don't even realize that that's what it is. But it comes out. Something that mama used to do that used to trigger you or hurt or wound you, you now do unconsciously, maybe without realizing that you're doing it. And you forget how you felt when it was done to you or how it made you feel the things that you thought. And so that trauma that came from mom, that wound or that thing that made mama almost shut down, but she managed to pull herself together. but she passed it on to you, says, you know what? I'm going to deposit myself in this person where they can't identify it, and they're going to pass it along to their children, and then their children are going to pick it up and pick up that same habit. Just to give an example, it may be that mama used to get so mad that she would throw you to the floor and put her foot on your neck. Now, for some people, they may say that just couldn't possibly happen. Nobody would do that. But that's what mama did, okay? And so when you get mad or you get upset, you react and you do that same thing. Or it may be that someone may say your name in a way that when your mom or dad used to call your name that way, or grandpa or grandma, you knew that there was some type of pain that was going to be inflicted on you from that. Okay. And so when you hear that, when you hear your name called that way or said that way, you immediately get tense or afraid, or you get balls in your stomach, or you may respond in a manner that people say, you went over the top with that. Where did that come from? Well, it came from mama or daddy or grandma or grandpa. It was passed down. So to me, that is what intergenerational trauma is. And so somebody has to say, you know what? I recognize it. I see it for what it is. And it's going to end with me. I'm not going to allow that to go any further in my family tree.
And you say you use writing to help deal with some of the trauma. Can you kind of talk about that?
Well, I started writing a diary when I was in high school, because I was dealing with a lot of things as a young girl and as a teenager. And so writing those things down helped me not to take myself over the edge. It helped me to be able to later on in life, when I came back from college and I looked in that diary, it helped me to see how far I had come. It helped me to see just how strong I really was, that I made it through all of these things and I'm still here. It was a voice for me. It was something that I could do without having to be afraid of someone reacting to me in a negative manner. It was something that I could do that was personal and private for me, but it made me feel better. It allowed me to get my emotions and feelings and thoughts out on paper. So I put it on the paper and put it out on that paper instead of putting it on someone else. So, it was a way for me to cope. So I look at it as a coping mechanism.
And that's what the word, Habakkuk 2:2 tells us, to write the vision and make it plain on paper. And not only the vision, write things. Habakkuk was writing, he was asking God, what is going on? Because things was, terrible during that time.
Right.
And the spoke to him and told him to write the vision and make it plain on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for people to understand how much writing is therapeutic, and
Yes.
how much we need that. So can you
Yes.
kind of talk? Because I know you host workshops. Can you kind of talk about that?
Well, the workshops that I host are for aspiring authors and writers, to connect them with the people that they need to go all the way through the process with the knowledge and to be informed of what it takes to become a published author. It also is an opportunity for them to collaborate. It is a kickstart for many people who want to write but don't know how to get started. So this workshop helps them to get it out and get it on paper. And what we found out also is that this becomes a type of therapy for them by attending this workshop and learning how to get it out and express themselves. They also learn that it's not so important initially as to how you say it. It's just that you need to say it. You need to get it out so that you can feel better and you can become stronger and braver and being able to express yourself. It is a way for you to speak publicly sometimes to someone without actually at that moment having to stand in front of a crowd of people. But you can give your story to thousands of people.
What about the people out there that says, it's healing is so ugly. It feels so bad. It almost feels as worse as when it happened.
Some I would say that comes down to, I don't know if you've ever heard people say you're gonna spend time doing something, wellness or illness.
Mm,
Which one? So you're gonna spend time hurting or healing.
come on now, say that again
You
for
have
the
to make a
people in the
choice.
back.
You're either gonna spend time hurting or you're gonna spend time healing. Which one is it that you want to do? And so healing may hurt for a moment, But how freeing and liberating is it when you finally take that trauma coat off? When you finally look in the mirror and say, maybe, hey, that's me. I was doing that. I've been doing those same things to my kids or to my husband, and I didn't realize that. I need to stop this. And so you set yourself free, and everybody else that's in the household or in your atmosphere, in your environment, you set them free. Everybody has a better outcome. So you just have to decide, what it is that you want to do, because that hurting or that healing is going to go down generations to come. Your descendants are going to deal with what you do in this moment. Either you hurt or you heal, whichever one you choose. Your descendants are going to deal with that. Your immediate children, your husband or spouse, your significant one, they're going to deal with the hurting or the healing.
Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that? How it passed down from generation to generation?
Yeah, and I will start, with the best person to get the advice from and to talk about it, which is me. So one of the things, I used to be really, really bad. Well, first of all, I grew up a tomboy. Grew up very much a tomboy, and so for me, hanging around guys and being around guys, that was no big deal. But I thought I was as tough as they are. So one of the things that I had going on with me was I was a fighter. You know, I did not hesitate. If you decided you want to get in my face, male or female, this is what was going to happen. This is how we was going to deal with it. But when it came to men, I don't know, I got this thing, this rush about the fact that, oh, so you want to get in my face. And so I would have this bad habit of, when I got angry, that's how I would express myself. I would fight or I would hit. So I was physically abusive. And so I traumatized somebody else. Why? Because that was things that I saw growing up. So for me, without even thinking about it, that's how I responded. I would be physical, and that hurt
How
relationship.
many ladies in the chat can
Oh,
agree that they've been physical before?
yeah,
The first step of healing is being honest
that's
about
right.
who you are, being vulnerable.
That's right.
You can't heal what you won't reveal.
Exactly.
You can't heal what you won't reveal. So
Yeah.
we really have to take this mask off. We are so quick to
Exactly.
say what somebody else did,
Yeah.
but how quick are we to say, oh, I did that. I hurt someone. I crossed those boundaries. I'm
Right.
sorry. I apologize. I'm working on that. You know,
Exactly.
words that heal. And we have to practice. I tell people all the time, the very first scripture my father ever taught me was Proverbs 18:21. Life and death is in the power of the tongue.
You better say that.
We got the power to bring life to people by
Right.
what we say. We got the power to bring death to people by what we say.
Right.
How are you using your power?
And words are traumatic as well. I mean, all of these traumatic experiences, they initiate these strong emotions that we have and these physical reactions, and those things can persist long after the event has occurred. Long after it has happened, you'll still have those emotions and those physical reactions to something based on something that traumatized you. As children, they feel terror, they're afraid, they have reactions to that kind of stuff, such as, wetting the bed, or going silent and shutting down, or maybe they bite, other kids out of anger, or you say, well, they are so disobedient, they're so rebellious and so mean. No, something has
The
happened to
reason.
them, and
Amen.
this is their
Amen.
reaction to that, because something occurred to them. Why do you keep wetting the bed? Because they have this fear and this trauma that's inside of them that's affecting that.
I remember not understanding the things that I would do or the things that I was experiencing in my body. And that's why that book, The Body Keeps Score, resonated with me
Mm,
so much because of the trauma, being a teenage mom, being molested as a young girl, being raped. You know what I'm saying? People don't like to talk about these things, but
right.
those are the things that I went through, and it really shaped who
Yeah.
I am. But I remember grown-ups, adults saying, "Ooh, she's so fast,"
Mm-hmm.
speaking things over my life and saying
Mm-hmm.
things to me, not knowing that somebody had
Was a
touched me.
thing.
Like I didn't wake up being fast.
Yeah.
Somebody had to teach me that behavior.
Yeah.
And women need to stop projecting those feelings of jealousy and envious on younger women.
And
So
ask
let's talk
what has
about that.
happened.
Let's talk
What
about
has
this
happened.
molestation and trauma that happens in our community that we do not want to talk about.
Let me start by saying one of the most difficult things I would say for me um, from the age of 16 is um, there's a trauma in someone that you trusted violating you.
Come on.
Right? And when they violate you, the shock of that and the shame of that that comes over you, and you don't want to tell
Nobody.
anybody what happened. But and so instead of saying it with your mouth, you show it in other ways, in
Yep.
other actions, or things that you start doing out of that hurt that turns into anger. And way back up under that is the embarrassment and the shame. You don't want to tell anybody that is 16, you think you were stupid. That's what you say to yourself. How could I have been so stupid and foolish and let him trick me like that? And I thought this guy was my friend. And I'm not talking about anybody else but myself. How could I have, why is it that I didn't see that? At 16, I trusted this person. So the trauma there is, even after something like that, it could be a guy that's a family member of yours. You don't want to be in the house or in a space by yourself around them because you get triggered, you get afraid. Or they may say, well, why is she always moving around? She just don't sit down. When the guy's around, she just sit down somewhere. Like you said, she just fast. No, she's not comfortable in that space
Yep.
with those men around. So all she can do at that point is kind of move around, but you see it as something else. But she's remembering the fact that somebody else I trusted violated me. Someone I trusted violated me at 16. And do you know how hard it is to have to carry that and keep that secret for a long, long time? And then years later, you see this person and they speak to you and act like
Like
nothing
nothing ever
ever
happened.
happened. They never did anything. So then you've been trying to internalize this. How does that affect your relationships? How does that affect men, you even being in the same space with men? It's traumatic to the point that, let's say you're dating somebody and maybe they just want to hug you and they're hugging you and you say, let me go, take your hand off of me. And they steady holding you tight. They're just playing, let me go. And they won't let you go. And all of a sudden you slap them or push them or you go all the way off. And they'd be like, why did you do that? That's just, you went way over the top. That wasn't necessary. But you don't know what that triggered inside of me because of what was done. And everybody wants to be ashamed of it, but don't be ashamed. It's time for you to stand up and expose the person who did it.
Listen, if you all don't talk
Expose
about
the
it,
victimizer.
if you all don't talk about these things that happen, your daughters are going to be dealing with it. You didn't tell them, they're not going to tell you. So who's going to break this generational curse?
Exactly.
Meanwhile, uncle, cousin, whoever is in the family
That's
that's
it.
terrorizing, molesting, raping
Yeah.
all the women and the little girls, and
Yeah.
nobody wants to talk about it, and it keeps happening.
Yeah.
When is it going to stop?
Yeah. And go ahead and tell your daughter or your niece. Well, when I was growing up, Uncle Ray put his hands on me. We was in my bedroom back then. He pulled down his pants and showed me his thing and da 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 da. Tell her, so when she says, why can't I go over to my friend's house or my cousin's house and spend the night? You just being mean. No, I need to explain to you that it's not safe there. And I need to tell you why. And again, don't be ashamed to do that, because you teach your daughter to be aware of her surroundings and to watch and pay attention to people and to be more cautious, do what she can to protect herself. But if something occurs, you have given her the empowerment to say, I can go tell my mama this or my dad.
When I think about that line in The Color Purple, when Oprah says a young girl ain't safe in the family of men.
Men, right?
And it's really sad,
It's
and I
true.
really connect that to these men trying to make laws about women's body. They really want control over our bodies, and it have been like that for a very long time. That's why it's so hard to get these rape convictions. If you all just really pay attention to this system and what is happening, we're recently just not seeing with the Me Too movement, with people coming forward telling us. I've been telling my story for 17 years now, and I'm going to keep telling my story because I want somebody to be healed. And I'm going to say this one thing, and then I'm going to let you take on. When I remember as a young girl being raped at school by a football player, and when I think back in my mind how it happened, I was in the band, and I was at school for band practice. And I went up to the gym to get some water. One of the football players came out and was telling me that such and such called me. And when I just think about how they had a system, it was more than me, because I didn't even know this person that they said called me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So they had a system where they was trapping these women and taking them down to the basement and sexually violating them. And it's like us not knowing that we had the power to scream, to
Yeah.
say no, to, and the fact that my mindset, my 11-year-old mindset, didn't know what to do and just went along with it.
Exactly. Exactly. Because nobody had talked to you about a what if or a real life experience so that you could maybe identify what they were trying to do or take place here. You know, you didn't know what is this.
Listen, I thought sex was hunching. I thought sex was hunching. And that's really, really sad.
Yeah,
And I got two older sisters.
yeah. Because especially in our communities, I mean, it was a time when you just really didn't mention that at all in any way.
Why is
You
sex
bring that
so
up.
taboo?
I think I think for our community, maybe more so some of the trauma that came about from enslaved men and women being sexually violated, the shame of that and not wanting to talk about that, not being allowed to feel that their bodies were beautiful, but being told that their bodies were ugly, their bodies were used for experiments. When you have something that someone has said is bad or is terrible or looks bad, or they just use it and discard it, then whatever's done to it, you don't want to tell anybody. And they make you feel like it's bad to even bring it up and discuss it. But you have to discuss sex. You have to present it it's a natural thing God has given. You have to teach young ladies and young boys the sacredness of it, the respect that goes with it, the honor that goes with it, and to teach them when it's done in a way that is wrong or that is a violation to them. Because if you don't, something's going to occur to them, or some of them it could become violated, and again it passed down. Because I always say I'm a woman, yes, but I'm also a bloodline, and blood is life. And
Mm.
when it comes to blood, whatever flows in it grows in it. That's what I say.
And I don't think people really even think about how deep this hurt, pain, shame, guilt, fear
Yes,
runs. And
yes.
we got the power to stop it, to cut it off,
And instead we try
cover
to
it
cope
up.
with it,
We cover it up.
which
We
which
cover it up.
comes in the form of us always, maybe we might always cut somebody else out, or go off easily, and you don't know why. Maybe we're having nightmares, because we're trying to cope with this thing. We try to come up with these ways to be resilient and these strategies to get through the trauma that was done to us, when really if we could just say it and get it out in a safe space and tell somebody and be believed when you tell it, instead of people saying don't say anything about that, or they're going to make it really hard for you if you do that. And you don't want to be you don't want to be victimized by someone else. So I've already been victimized by this person. Now I'm victimized again by the people that I've told, by the people in my church I thought I could confide in, by Big Ma that I thought I could go tell, but I can't, and or the men in the family looking at you some kind of way. All of a sudden it's all your fault, but it's not your fault. It's never your fault, because if you didn't say yes, you said no, and no is no. If you said
No
don't touch
means
me
no.
and leave me alone, then that is what it is. I wouldn't care if you were bucket naked standing in the room. If you change your mind and say no, the answer is
At
no.
any time, you got the right to
You
change
have
your
the
mind.
right to say
You know,
no.
it's 5 people watching this live right now. Out of those 5 people, 1 out of 4 women have been sexual abused before the age of 18
And been abused more than once.
and been abused more than once. And so I just want to offer women a safe space to share their story, to talk about the hurt, pain, shame, guilt. And that's what we do in the healing circle. And when I tell you all, I have been able to heal, and it's because I'm able to talk. I couldn't, at the beginning, I couldn't talk about me being raped and sexually abused without breaking down crying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But since I've been doing this for 17 years, this is a form of therapy. Me telling my story has helped me heal. And that's why I would get on the mountaintop and tell people, tell your story. You can't heal what you won't reveal. As long as you hide that pain, shame, guilt, and fear, you're going to be stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say too, we have to make it the norm where our girls and our little boys can come to us and tell us things. I would say at the age of 16, having been sexually violated by someone that I trusted and considered to be a friend of mine, um, I couldn't tell it. I couldn't go in that space and tell what was done, because I immediately felt like, well, Felicia, you shouldn't have been there. Maybe if you shouldn't have been there, then it wouldn't have happened. But we were friends. But still, for some reason, you were there, and that person took advantage of that. And the nightmare and the trauma of that, and the dreams of having to remember somebody, constantly slapping your face or biting you, and you fighting and screaming all night for hours, and it's exhausting. It was physically exhausting, but when you think about it, it was emotionally and mentally exhausting. And so, yeah, that's another reason why, you got to be careful the way you touch me or when you touch me. You know,
I can't
that
stand for nobody to just be touching on me. Then
just
they be laughing and hitting you like, don't touch
don't
me.
don't do that. And I always said, and it's heartbreaking that it came true, but I said my mother would leave this world and I would never tell her that. Because one thing I knew too, my fear was either she's gonna say it was me and I shouldn't have done it, or she's gonna go around that corner and blow his brains all over his pretty little brick house. And so, you know,
So we
I just
don't tell because we feel like we don't want to blow up the family. We don't want to do this. We don't, you know what I'm saying?
and the
Like,
phone's
what
just going and people
what
just
about
talking.
us? We need to be our first
Right,
priority at all times,
right.
period. Think about you. Not
But
only
there was
think
no
about
one to
you,
tell that little 16-year-old that Felicia, don't be afraid, and no matter what, you tell what he did. You tell what he did so that it won't happen to somebody else. But I didn't tell what he did, and it happened to a lot of other young ladies.
yeah, that's why I started Camp Fabulous. I want to share my story with those little girls so that nobody can violate them little girls,
That's
and that
right.
they will have a space or somebody they can come to and talk to
Right.
about somebody touching them. And
Right.
you mentioned boys. It happens to boys
That's
too.
right. That's
One
right.
in six boys are
Yeah.
molested before the age of 18. So it's not just happening to girls. And a lot of these guys that out here that like to have, sex with a lot of different women, that's trauma bonding. They are so hurt and they won't take the time to fix that pain. They
Right.
just lay with different
So they
women
just go through women.
trying to
Let
deal
me
with
hurt you the way I let me hurt you. That's a reaction to my trauma. Let me hurt you. And I would say this, Dr. J, we as women, we have got to get this right, because this childhood trauma, it shouldn't be normal. It shouldn't be a normal thing that you got to be violated, or that you have to be physically abused or emotionally or verbally abused. That should not be the normal thing.
how does it stop?
So
How does it
we
stop?
got to stop it. The first thing, and I can only speak for me, is your mindset has to change. First of all, that mindset of a depression and aggression, that violence, that desire to be drug induced all the time. You have to make a decision and say, it is going to stop with me, which means that first of all, you have to be self-aware, okay, of what is going on. You got to be courageous enough to step to the mirror, hold it up in front of your face, and say, this is what happened to me. And I honestly know that this is the reason why I react the way I do. This is the reason why I have the mindset that I do. This is the reason I treat people the way that I do. And so now that I have admitted that to myself, which I knew all the time, but pushed to the back of my mind, once I do that and I start to reflect on the things that happened, what was being passed down, then at that point I can say, this is a pattern that's going to stop with me, because I am now aware that I need to break this cycle. So again, the first thing is going to be self-awareness and reflection. I would also say you need to set boundaries. Okay. You know the things that trigger you while you're going through your healing. So you need to set boundaries as to places you want to go, people you want to be around, things you will or will not allow. And some people may say, well, you acting funny, you backing off, you shutting down. But what you're trying to do is to create a better and healthier you, so that you can have healthier and more balanced relationships with other people. So be self-aware, take some time to reflect on what occurred. You need to set your boundaries with people and for yourself. And I would say out too, it is okay to get therapy and professional help, someone that you can talk to get things out, so you can learn how to deal with pulling all of this stuff, all this junk out of this trunk that you had closed up and locked down for so long. Because you're going to open it up and it's going to smell and it's going to be bad. And so you need somebody in the room to help you when you open that up, because it's going to be a lot.
You talked about setting boundaries. What does that look like? How do you set boundaries? And what are some of the boundaries you have set in your life?
Well, you set boundaries first of all by deciding, as I said before, what are the triggers for me? What are the things that I know will make me react in a certain way that is going to be negative or bad? Let's say, for example, you're in a room with a group of people, and maybe somebody has this bad habit of always maybe rubbing you on your back, and you'll say, don't do that, and they just keep doing that. And so you have to go to them and set a boundary and say, I no longer want you to put your hands on me. You are not allowed to touch me. Are we clear on that? So you just said to them exactly what it is that you want, what you will and will not deal with. You set a boundary and told them, this is not okay. You cannot do this to me. It may be that you go to family gatherings and maybe there are people that always have something negative to say about you. It's always something you did or should have done, and they making you feel bad. Okay, so that's how you feel. How do you stop that? You set a boundary and you say, you know what? I know the family is getting together for this holiday or that holiday, but if this person is going to be there, then I think I would rather stay at home and spend a peaceful holiday here at my home with me, or go to another space with a group of people that do make you feel better. You know, if there's somebody that's making jokes that make you uncomfortable, you let them know that that makes you uncomfortable. When you come to setting boundaries, you have to speak up for yourself, and you cannot budge from those boundaries, no matter what anybody says.
For the people watching, what are some of your boundaries? Put them in the chat. What are some of the boundaries that you've set? And if you haven't set any boundaries, tell us some of the boundaries you need to set.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
of my boundaries are like, you can't call me early in the morning. I don't want to talk to you. You can call, I'm not going to answer. You can text, I'm not going to respond. So those are some of the boundaries I've set.
And you don't break that. You stand by that. You're consistent
But it's the
with
reason why. Like, I don't want you to get that bad person. Like, my spirit man is still asleep.
it.
She ain't up yet. You
I'm
know what
trying
I'm
to help
saying? So
everybody in the
I'm
room.
trying to protect you, boo. So, you know what I'm
That's
saying?
it.
What are some of the boundaries? What are some of your boundaries you set, Felicia?
Well, one of the things that I make sure, and it's funny that you mentioned the one about the time, because I have said where, okay, you can't call me before 8:30. From 10:30 to 8:30, 10:30 at night, 8:30, you can't call me. Also, my other boundaries. When I was younger, one of the things that I had to start doing is I had to make sure that I didn't allow males to say certain things in front of me or around me. You know, if you're gonna
Give us
talk
an
like that,
example.
either I'm gonna leave the room or you gonna leave the room.
Give us an
But that's
example.
mm, even just talking about other women, calling them out of their
The
names,
top
you know,
derogatory, yeah.
or you may have some little nickname for me that you think is cute. I don't think that's cute. And I'd appreciate if you wouldn't do it. And if you're going to do that, don't expect to get a response from me, because I'm not going to answer. And if I said I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So I would advise you not to. You have to set boundaries. You may say, you know what, you can't come to my house whenever you want to, or you can't come in my house and just sit down and start going off on everybody, cussing and just smoking your cigarettes, stuff like that. You tell people, no, you can't come here and smoke in my house. No exception. Mama, daddy, grandma, anybody, you can't do that. No, you can't bring your girlfriend over here, and I know you married. You can't bring that to my house.
Go watch the Ricky Smiley morning show from today. He put the a recap on YouTube every day, and I watch it. And today he was talking about family members that are not good for our health, and he was saying
Mm,
leave their ass behind. You don't feel like you have to be connected to them just because they are your family members. If they disturb your peace, stay
that's right.
away from their ass. And that's
If
where
they
I
are the
am in my
trauma,
life.
stay away.
Man, listen, let these people go and do some work,
Yep,
because they keep, how you get a sore and you keep scratching it, and
that's
that
it.
scab keep coming off and it can't heal because you keep scratching it.
Yeah, yeah,
Let it heal, baby. Let it
yeah,
heal.
yeah. And I would like to also add, as we were talking about, some of the things that you can do to help heal and identify that trauma. One really good thing I would say is create yourself some I ams. Put them on your mirror. Say them out loud. Say them
Yes.
out loud every day so you can hear them. Because words of spirit, they put things into motion. When you speak it out your mouth, you release it into the atmosphere. Those words go to work. Create you some I ams. You can say, I am released from my past hurt, and I will be the person that I'm supposed to be, and not the person that this trauma made me. Okay. You can say, I am capable of releasing this trauma, and I'm capable of severing the connection that's causing the trauma. If it comes to that, I am going to heal entirely so that I'm made whole. I am not afraid to acknowledge the fact that there are places inside of me that need to be healed. Okay, again, get you some I ams. You can say, I am in a safe place. Okay, I'm in a safe place, and it's safe for me to relax and heal in this space. Okay, even if it's another person, it's safe. I can lay back and relax and hear here in this space with this person. But get you some I ams and say them to yourself. Look yourself in the mirror. I am not going to continue this intergenerational trauma. I am going to stop it with me. I am going to be different. I am not going to be the traumatic example that I saw before me. And I am going to help other women and young girls and boys and me
Amen,
heal.
amen, amen. Yes, indeed.
I
And
am.
that's what God has created us to do, not just to heal ourselves, but to help other people heal.
That's right.
And that's one of the reasons why I do the healing circle. That's one of the reasons why I created Camp Fabulous. And that's a part of my purpose and my mission. And so even when I took a break from doing life class, here I am back again doing life class because it's a part of what I've been called to do. So I just encourage people to find what you have been called to do. That's a part of your healing. That's a
That's
part of your purpose.
right.
And many times we are depressed and sick because we are not walking in our purpose, because we are not being who we were created to be.
Yeah. And they say, well, hurt people, but healed people heal people.
Heal people.
Okay. So that goes around to your supportive community too. Build you a supportive community so they can be there for you, because healed people heal people.
That's exactly what we do in the healing circle. Definitely trying to speak life into people and tell stories of what help us. And so, again, we
Right.
just offer a healing space. And most
Right.
of the people that show up for the healing circle, they are dealing with grief, sexual abuse. Those are two of the major things that come up in life class. I mean, in a healing circle.
Mhm. And you have physical abuse, and you have to be, even with that, that's another thing. You were physically abused growing up, and it seems sometimes you become an adult and you forget all of a sudden what that was like for you. And so all when it comes to how you're supposed to react when you get angry with your children is to do to them or say to them what was done or said to you, not realizing that when it was done or said to you, it created this person you are now. And what are you doing? You are reacting and responding based on what was done to you by mama or daddy or grandma or grandpa, and you're doing it to your baby girl or your baby boy. And so, guess what? What's going to happen? They're going to grow up and they're going to do it to somebody else too, because that's what you taught them. Regardless, they may, and sometimes, yeah, they're going to remember the pain that comes from it, but they're going to do it unless they make a conscious decision and become aware and reflect back so that they can make a change and not be the physical abuser.
How do we stop that? How do we address that? Can you kind of speak to that?
I think, first of all, we need to have more discussions and more platforms where people feel safe saying their truths of who they are and what they've gone through or what they have done, without feeling judgmental. We need to have a space for them to be able to do that. Because once they speak it out of their mouths, they hear the words come out of their mouth, it really becomes real for them then. There's no pulling it back, it's no taking it back. It's out there now. So now what do you do with it? Well, okay, again, you have this support, this community that's going to be there for you to help you get it all out and say it. And once you've done it, it's time to start making a recovery plan, a healing plan. What does that healing plan look like? What does that recovery or regeneration plan look like? Well, for me, it looks like I'm not going to curse my son, the way that I was. I'm not going to say hurtful things to him to demean him or hurt his self esteem or wound his heart. You know, I'm not going to physically abuse him the way that I was physically abused. Those are things that's a plan that I have. I am going to practice stepping back and hesitating before I speak. You know, I am going to take some time out for myself, maybe to listen to some jazz or listen to something that can calm me. And I am going to open up and share with my mate some things that happened to me or some things that trigger me. One of the things I say to Jason sometimes, he has to be careful the way he says my name, because he can say my name a certain way sometimes. And as soon as he does it, I feel it in my gut, in the pit of my stomach, and it just does this immediately. Don't call
Mm,
my name like that, because that sound, that tone, it is anger, pain, hurt, and abuse associated with that tone. So you can't use that tone with me. There are
Can
times I
you
have nightmares.
can you kind of go back to childhood to associate that tone where you remember someone calling your name that it
Yes,
took you to a place?
yes. And I felt that fear that I felt as a little girl,
Mhm,
it came back.
mhm,
I'm a grown woman, but I immediately felt it. It was
mhm,
terrorizing. It's very
mhm.
fearful. And I'm a grown woman, somebody's mama, and still you say that to me, and it can trigger that. And you be like, how can that still be there? It's the residue of it. It's still in there. How do I pull that out? I have to try to talk my way through that. I used to tell Jason, thank you for coming to get me. When I would have nightmares, I would have nightmares based on some traumas that I went through as a child.
Mm.
And they would feel so real. I would scream out, and I would verbally um, express that I was in fear or something was happening to me, and my husband would roll over and he would hold me, and he would hold me very, very tight and just shake me and say, "Baby, baby, wake up. It's okay." And because he did that, I felt like he came and got me out of this place.
Wow, wow, wow. This is a powerful discussion,
So
Felicia.
full. That can't. You married all of that. He married all of that. And so I had to open up to him at some point because I was having these nightmares, these very real nightmares. Fear is a real emotion and feeling, and it will traumatize you. It will make you stand like this, and
Man,
it
listen.
run all through you.
We definitely have to have a part two of this conversation because it is so deep. This intergenerational trauma that
Yeah.
we definitely got to revisit it. It stops with me. So we
Stop.
have just 2 minutes left in the show. Can you kind of wrap it up and tell people, give the people some tips, and some resources and how they can find you? Tell them what you got going on coming up.
Um, Okay, well, I would say first of all, be authentic to yourself. Okay, be authentic to yourself. Allow that little girl or that little boy in you to have the difficult conversations. Okay, especially if you were traumatized by someone that you saw as being your protector. Okay, be authentic. Have that conversation for that little boy or little girl that couldn't have it so many years ago to help set yourself free, and don't run away from your trauma. Okay, run to your healing. That's what you're doing. Don't run away from it. Run to your healing. This is a way for you to heal. You're not running from it. You're not trying to ignore it. You're just trying to heal for yourself. Okay, so that you can be a better person for you and everybody that's connected to you. Third thing I would say, make sure you find a community where it is okay for you to talk with other people that have had those similar experiences. Okay, it's okay. Find your safe space, like Dr. J's camp, and talk through that. Okay, because we have to unapologetically heal ourselves, because trauma has unapologetically hurt us. Okay, so unapologetically heal because trauma unapologetically hurt us. Now, Far as what I have coming up,
Tell the
that is
people.
all centered around all of this. Because there are different forms that you can help heal yourself and things that can help you so you can help other people. I, as I said earlier, am an author. So I have book 3 coming out of my Ways trilogy, which is coming out soon, hopefully this fall. We're at the point of formatting and putting the book cover together. It's called Josie's Ways of Grace. And for those of you all that may not know, again, it's a part of a trilogy. The first book is Sister Nadine's Ways, and then we have Josie's Ways of Grace. And now we have Anne, the Reprobate Ways, the Unveiling of Anne. So all those books
Wow.
deal with generational trauma and domestic violence and other things. Also, we're in the process of getting ready to gear up our rehearsals and casting calls for the production that's also coming from that book that's entitled The Brownie, An Unforgettable Trip. Right now, we are looking at May 3rd at Hines Community College in Raymond, Mississippi. We are going to be needing sponsors, the community to support with tickets and things like that. And finally, the last thing I'm going to mention that I'm going to do very soon is I am going to vote November 5th because voting is traumatic for Black people. Okay, it has historically been traumatic and it's still being traumatic. And we have got to speak up and lift our voices in that area too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Man, thank you so, so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on Life Class and sharing all this good information. And again, we definitely got to have you back to continue this important discussion. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
Thank
you,
you all
Doc.
out there for watching. Make sure you all go vote. Don't just go vote, vote responsibly. Make sure you look at the ballot before you vote. And enjoy homecoming. It is homecoming. The
Woo!
Tiger Den, baby. Happy homecoming, Jackson State. See y'all on the other
D-I-G.
side.
Thank you, Doc.
Bye bye.